Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have something very exciting to share with you. While I've been traveling through Arizona, I've been learning pieces of Arizona history and pieces of history in general. And so today I found something very interesting while I was exploring. And I wanted to share the story of a remarkable woman who called Arizona her home. Now this wasn't your average woman. She was remarkable in so many ways. She told stories of hope for the future, and in doing so she garnered great respect and also became someone that you could look up to. Now I'm speaking of a woman who was largely responsible for many of the portions of the women's suffrage movement right here in Arizona. But not only that, but after the women's suffrage movement had reaped the fruits of success and women indeed were allowed to not only vote but also have a voice, she continued on pushing for women's rights here in the state of Arizona. But not only that, she was a strong advocate and became someone of legends. And so today we are exploring a very unique woman, and we're starting out at her final resting place. Let me introduce you to Frances Lillian Willard Munz, a resident of Yavapai County. She was born June 10th, 1866, and passed away December 16, 1948, at the age of 82. During this time, she was a remarkable woman and served the people of Yavapai County in a variety of different ways. She's been laid to rest at Mountain View Cemetery in Prescott, Arizona. Along the way, many contributed to the greater cause of women's suffrage. Most notably, however, was Frances Willard Munz of the Prescott area. For many years, Munz was a sincere and valuable worker within the territory of Arizona, and she was elected to be the secretary of the suffrage organization. She was born on a ranch outside of Franklin, California in 1866 and attended the Mills Seminary College, and then went on to Central Institute in Pittsford, Maine, where she stayed with her sister and her husband, which lived there. She was the first in the family to attend college. After college, she traveled back to Arizona with some college friends, and she became a teacher. After taking a test to see if she was qualified to teach, she ended up teaching at various schools between 1887 and 1889. During this time, she took a train, and this fated train trip would introduce her to her husband, Johnny Munz. They were later married in 1890. They moved to Prescott in 1895, where Johnny became the sheriff. She was involved with the Women's Christian Temperance Union and eventually became the vice president before starting her work with the women's suffrage movement. In 1914, she was elected the first woman senator in the Arizona legislature for her hard work, and was only the second woman in the U.S. to serve in the state legislature. She served one term, but became a society woman following this and vowed to not run for political office again. However, she did continue her advocacy throughout her time of life and eventually passed away at the age of 82. Now, why did I want to highlight Frances in this particular way? Well, I feel as though it's important for us to talk about these voices, because these voices are the very ones who stood before people, highly scrutinized, and still persisted and kept going. In fact, at the time of the women's suffrage movement, women were considered to be second-class citizens. They didn't have rights. They weren't able to vote. They weren't even able to go into certain public places. They certainly couldn't have had the things that we have now. And in many cases, even if a woman was widowed, she still didn't have the rights to take care of her own land. She would have to deed it over to somebody else. That's crazy to think that now, all of these years later, now in the forefront of what's going on, women are having to still struggle for their very rights. And so I think that we can take a chapter from her legacy. We can learn a little bit from the past so that we can make a better tomorrow. Now, initially, whenever she and other women went ahead to go and march for their rights or to advocate for their rights through various ways, they were laughed upon. They were told to go home. They were told to get back in the kitchen. They were told that they should only have the jobs that women should have. But here I stand before you today doing things that women in the past could have never envisioned themselves doing. I travel independently, and I feel every single piece of this strength that has been supportive throughout the past, backing me into the expectations of the future that I've been told I can always have. However, I also try to think back into the time whenever she was alive And whenever she was alive, kids didn't have that same goal structure of you can be anything, you can do anything, you can be, you can do. And I think it's very important to realize just how far we've come from where we started out and the people who brought us to these positions. So today I wanted to share this particular grave with you, this little story, and tell you that every single one of us does make a difference. Even if we don't necessarily think that we do, just by speaking words into the ether and being positive, we can change the future in a positive direction. So instead of us being sad or gloomy or thinking, oh no, I can't do this, let's look at people like this woman who is determined and dig in a little bit, find what is inside of us that is special and share it with the world. Remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time, and thanks to people like this woman, we can definitely have that. Till next time guys, bye!